Okay, so have you ever found yourself in that situation where you you intensely desired something, you poured all your energy into getting it, but ultimately you just couldn't? And then almost immediately your brain does this kind of flip, makes you declare you didn't even want it in the first place. Welcome to the deep dive. We're the place where we dig into a stack of sources and pull out those key insights, the ones you need to be truly well informed. Today, we're diving into a really timeless fable. It's surprisingly short, but wow, incredibly potent. La volpe, l'uva y la scusa. That translates to the fox, the grapes, and the excuse. Our mission? Well, it's to unpack this classic tale, follow the intriguing journey of its main character, the fox, and then really explore the profound psychological stuff that's kind of nestled at its core. Get ready for some, I think, eye-opening observations about human nature, all wrapped up in this engaging story. Okay, let's unpack this. So our story kicks off with a really memorable protagonist. We picture this. A fox described as pelo rosso brillante dagli occhi furbi e vivaci. The bright red fur, cunning, lively eyes. It sets the stage perfectly for a character about to teach us something deep. This isn't just any fox. It's like the fox of fable. And our foxy friend wasn't just, chilling out. The source says it passeggiava in un bosco verde e silenzioso, strolling through a green, quiet wood. And its goal, super simple, totally relatable. In cerca di qualcosa di buono da mangiare. Just looking for something tasty, something to eat. It makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we set out with such a clear, almost basic desire? Food, maybe new skill, or even just like a moment's peace. There's something really fundamental about that initial drive, that pure wanting.
Yeah, and what's really captivating, I think, is how that simple search, it quickly turns into this moment of pure, intense desire. Our cunning fox, with those lively eyes you mentioned, suddenly spots un bel grappolo d'uva nera lucire succosa. I mean, can you just picture it? This beautiful bunch of black, shiny, juicy grapes hanging there like the perfect prize. The description itself just screams appeal, desirability. This isn't just food anymore. It's suddenly like perfection on a vine.
The ideal.
Exactly. But, like in all good stories, there's a catch, an obstacle. These amazing grapes, they pendiva da una vite molto alta, hanging from a very high vine. So there's an immediate challenge. It's not just grab and go.
Right, not easy.
Not at all. Right. And the fox's reaction is so telling. It's si le quella labre pensò che l'uva deve essere deliziosa. It literally licked its lips. That physical sign of anticipation, and immediately concludes, those grapes, it must be delicious. It just shows how much our perception of value can shoot up just by seeing something, especially when we already have a need, like hunger. The thing it wants isn't just food. It's instantly seen as having these incredible qualities, deliciousness guaranteed.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because once that prize is logged in and the desire is like solidified, the fox acts. We see this really dedicated effort, a whole sequence of attempts that just speaks volumes about determination. The source describes it clearly. Così si preparò. E saltò una volta, ma non riuscì a prenderla. So it gets ready, gathers its strength, jumps once, but nope. Can't quite reach it. Yeah. But it doesn't stop there. Undeterred, it tries again with even more resolve. Provo di nuovo più in alto. Niente. Tried again higher. Still nothing. You can only feel that frustration building, right? That burning desire hitting this stubborn physical wall. I remember trying to assemble some flat pack furniture once.
Yeah.
Oh man, the same mix of I will do this and arc, why isn't it working? It felt very familiar.
Been there.
Totally. But our fox, it's not giving up yet. The effort peaks. Fece un terzo salto con tutte le sue forze, ma l'uva era sempre troppo lontana. A third jump, with all its strength. But the grapes were still too far away.
With all its strength. That's key, isn't it?
It really is. This wasn't some half-hearted go. This was maximum effort, pushing its limits. Complete dedication to that one goal. Yet despite all that strength, all that determination, sheer willpower, just reputed, undeniable failure. It kind of highlights a harsh reality, doesn't it? Sometimes even our absolute best, most passionate efforts just aren't enough to close the gap between what we want and what we can actually get. This whole sequence, intense desire, exhausting effort, repeated letdown, it sets such a powerful stage for the big shift that's coming next.
Indeed it does. And it's right at this point, physical and emotional exhaustion, that the story takes its crucial turn. Our source tells us, stanca e ansimante la volpe si fermò. Tired and panting, the fox stopped. You can feel the physical toll, right?
Yeah.
But it's the change inside, the internal state, that holds the deeper meaning here. So it looks up again at those grapes, the ones it wanted so badly. And it, borbottò arrabbiata, tanto quell'uva sarà sorba, non la voglio nemmeno.
Yeah.
It muttered angrily. Those grapes are probably sour. I don't even want them.
Wow, what a switch.
It's huge.
Yeah.
This isn't just giving up. If we connect this to, the bigger picture of human psychology, what we're seeing is this dramatic, almost instant pivot. Remember, just moments ago, it thought that debe ser es deliciosa, must be delicious. Now, total dismissal, disdain even. The grapes, once shiny, juicy, perfect, suddenly they're acerba, sour, unwanted.
So it didn't even taste them. It just decided.
Exactly. There's no new information about the grapes themselves. It's a classic example of what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. That's the mental discomfort, right?
Yeah.
When you hold two conflicting ideas like, I really want those delicious grapes crashing against, I totally failed to get them.
Okay, that uncomfortable feeling.
Right. And to resolve that tension, the mind often changes one of the beliefs. In this case, the fox's internal story shifts. It goes from, I couldn't get them to, actually, I didn't want them anyway because they're no good.
The excuse.
Precisely. It's a powerful psychological defense. The fox actively devalues the goal itself. Why? To cope with failing to achieve it, protects the ego, avoids that sting of failure by just rewriting the narrative completely. The external reality of the grapes didn't change one bit. Only the fox's perception did, all driven by its own unmet desire.
So, okay, what does this all mean for us? Beyond a clever fox and some out-of-reach fruit, this fable, as simple as it seems, it really hits on a core insight, a universal human truth, the moral spelled out right in our source.
Questa favola ci insegna che quando non riusciamo a ottenere qualcosa, spesso diciamo che non ci interessa, ma in realtà è solo perché non siamo riusciti a raggiungerla. Which means, this fable teaches us that when we fail to get something, we often say we're not interested, but really it's just because we couldn't reach it.
Oof. That's pretty direct. It is, isn't it? Starkly honest. Almost uncomfortably so. It makes you want to dig deeper into this whole defense mechanism. It shows that often when we claim we're not interested, it's not genuine lack of desire. It's actually a shield, protecting ourselves from feeling like a failure. It's a really potent observation about managing disappointment, safeguarding our self-image. But I wonder, if we're so good at fooling ourselves, how do we even tell the difference between something we genuinely don't want and something we've just rationalized away? Is there ever a time when this self-deception is actually helpful?
That is a crucial question, and it really gets to why understanding this sour grapes thing is so important. Now, sometimes letting go of a truly unattainable goal can be healthy, right? Acceptance. But the sour grapes mechanism, that's different. It's not healthy acceptance. It's more like altering reality to dodge the pain.
Avoidance.
Exactly. The reasons are deep in our psychology. Mostly it's about protecting our ego. Let's face it, admitting failure, admitting we weren't good enough or strong enough or smart enough to get what we wanted, that can hurt a lot. It can damage our self-esteem. So by declaring the grapes sour, the fox avoids that internal clash. It manages the disappointment not by truly processing it, but by changing how it sees the unreachable thing. It's a way of saving face, not just to others, but mainly to itself. That inner voice shifts from I failed to it wasn't worth it anyway. So to answer your question, while it might give some immediate relief, the long-term cost of always deceiving ourselves like this, it can be pretty significant. It stops us from learning from failures, stops us from figuring out what we really want. It puts up these psychological barriers. If you want to move past sour grapes, maybe start by trying to be radically honest about past efforts. If you tried super hard and failed, acknowledge that failure.
Yeah.
Just sit with it for a moment without immediately trashing the goal. That self-awareness, that's the first step, I think, to decide if something is genuinely not for you or if it's just currently unattainable.
That distinction, healthy acceptance versus active self-deception,
Yeah.
that feels really vital. And you're right, this isn't just some old story about animals. This moral pops up everywhere in our lives, far beyond vineyards. Think about it. That dream job you didn't get, and suddenly it wasn't the right fit anyway, or the company culture sounded kind of toxic,
Heard that one before.
or a relationship that ends, and pretty quickly you decide that person wasn't really all that great after all,
Yeah, conveniently overlooking the good parts.
Exactly. Even in smaller things, like trying to learn a new skill, playing guitar, baking sourdough, learning French. You struggle, you hit a wall, and then you dismiss it. It's too hard, not really my thing, or honestly, it's overrated. I once spent a whole weekend trying to knit a scarf. Total disaster. Ended up declaring scarves fundamentally flawed fashion and convinced myself my friend wouldn't appreciate my artisanal efforts anyway.
Her grapes were definitely sour by Sunday night.
Oh, completely. My needles were just a mess. This fable, in just a few lines, it makes this incredibly sharp point about self-deception, about human psychology. It really pushes us to reflect. How many times have we declared something not good enough or not what I really wanted only after we failed to get it? The power of this source, this story, is how timeless it is, how it holds up a mirror to our own, often unconscious ways of coping. It's about the excuses we make, not just out loud, but really the ones we tell ourselves.
Exactly. And the beauty is in its simplicity. The fable doesn't really judge the fox, does it? It just shows a
Yep.
common human tendency with stark clarity. It's not about shaming us for doing it, but more about understanding why we do it and how common it is. It highlights how fast our own subjective reality can shift just to protect our inner world.
Yeah.
The initial desire, pure, strong, driven by hunger, the effort, totally genuine, exhaustive. But the renunciation, the sour grapes moment, that wasn't about the grapes changing. It was about the fox's internal state changing dramatically to avoid feeling like a failure. For those listening who might know a bit about behavioral economics or social psychology, this isn't just simple rationalization. It's about how our internal story actively reframes external value. It reminds us that how much we value something is often tangled up with whether we think we can actually get it. When it seems within reach, super desirable. When it proves impossible despite our best efforts, suddenly its value plummets and we find reasons to justify that drop. It's a really fascinating look at the human or, well, foxy condition and the subtle ways our minds try to protect us, sometimes maybe to our own detriment.
Right. So as we wrap up this deep dive into La Volpe, l'uva e la scusa, let's just quickly recap our foxy friend's journey. From that initial strong desire for the deliciosa, the delicious grapes, through those strenuous, repeated jumps, and finally to that bitter turnaround where they suddenly became a serba, sour and unwanted. The really powerful moral here, revealed by its actions, is that sometimes our declared lack of interest in something, it can often be a mask for our inability to actually get it. It's a defense mechanism, protecting our ego from the sting of failure.
Well put.
So here's something provocative for you to chew on, something to take away from this deep dive. The next time you find yourself dismissing something you used to want, something you worked hard for, maybe, but couldn't quite reach, just pause for a second. Instead of immediately writing it off, ask yourself, are these grapes really sour, or are they just out of my reach right now? What might change? In your self-understanding, maybe your future goals, perhaps even your resilience, if you could genuinely acknowledge the initial desire and the real reason for letting go, instead of letting your mind just rewrite the story. What kind of wisdom could you gain by truly understanding your own sour grapes moments? Think about that.